Thank you. Hey, thank you for attending this event. What's wrong with your Horizon client? When I originally submitted this session, I said, what the hell's the matter with your thin client? But they kind of changed the name just a little bit here. So we'll go ahead and get going with it. My name's Tom Fenton. I have a couple different hats. I write for Storage Review. I think I'm one of the few people in the industry that actually looks at thin clients, Horizon clients, and does hands-on reviews of them, and have probably a dozen, 24 of them on Storage Review, where I take a look at them and see their purpose and see what their best use case is. I go from everything from Pi-based thin clients that are $50 to these expensive ones put out by Dell and HP that can cost $1,000. I also write for virtualization and cloud review. Do a little bit more work with them, different work with them. Just got done doing a big write-up on VMware Workstation with them. But my main job is working with ControlUp, and what ControlUp does is it monitors endpoints, it monitors virtual desktops. And I got called into a really interesting call, and I found some kind of interesting statistics there. We got called into a hospital, a healthcare provider in the UK, and they had 10,000 devices, and their users were not happy with their virtual desktops. They said, these aren't reliable, blah, blah, blah. They're using Horizon. And so we said, okay, we monitor the whole stack, so let's get in there, let's take a look and see what's going on with it. And the first thing that we found was that they didn't really have problems with their Horizon desktops. They were actually running really, really good. It was the endpoint devices that they were connecting to that was causing the problem. We sat there, we gathered data for about a month. They were interesting because they ran some local applications, and then they used the Horizon native client on Windows to access streaming applications and virtual desktops when they needed to. So the first thing we did is we kind of took a look at their hardware, got a good hardware inventory of them. We saw that they were mostly a HP machine. They had this Dynabook. Has anyone heard of Dynabook? I think it might be kind of a European company. You've heard of it? And yeah, and yeah, and I never heard of them before. And are they still in business? Maybe not. Okay. And so we went in there, and then we looked at the model of devices. This is an eye chart. Don't worry about it. It just shows you the wide variety of devices they have, and this will come into play in just a second. The first thing we wanted to look at is these devices were having blue screens of death, right? They're Windows devices, they're going to have blue screens of death. And this is a day in the blue screen of death. These are the devices, the top 20 devices, and how many, I'm sorry, this is a week, how many times they had the blue screen of death. Sure, they have 9,000 devices, but seemed a little bit suspicious, right? That something was going on there. So we took a look at these, took a look, and we kind of started to notice some trends that certain models seem to be having more issues than other models. So we created a graph. The blue line there is the percentage of devices, and the orange line is the percentage of crashes that those devices are having. So we grouped them up. We can see that they have one device that really performed well. They were, about 25% of the devices, but they were only having 13% of the crashes. So they were, they were doing good. But those weren't the ones we were really worried about, right? The ones we were worried about were the ones that are having crashes. And this is that Dyna one that I was talking about. They were only 16% of them in their environment, but they were responsible for 23% of the crashes. We also saw some of the older HP ProBooks, 5% of the devices, 12% of the crashes. The same with the G7. So we were able to figure out, these devices, this is one of your pain points. And so they were able to go through, and with information like this, you can go to your manager. They were able to go to the manager and say, we just need to do a hardware refresh. I don't know about you guys, but trying to get new hardware in a hospital environment where they're very tightly constrained, you need good data to show them, say, this is why we need it. They're causing us problems. We just need to do it. Next thing we looked at was the application crashes. And we found that one application, it was a shell command, we saw over 20 million crashes a day from this one application. It'd come back up, but it'd crash. That's 50 per device per day. And they didn't have this insight. They didn't have any tools to monitor it, to collect it. And then we had another one, the service host, that was running some kind of WBIOS service. That was also just 6,000 crashes a day. That's 2/3 of their devices was having that. And McAfee, DLP crashes, everyone's favorite, right? McAfee, it was crashing too. They didn't have that insight. They didn't know where to go and investigate it. We found that some of these were coming from specific devices, and these bottom 9 were responsible for like 82% of the crashes. So these devices were actually causing it. Once we got rid of those, their calls went way down. It was truly remarkable that just this small subset of devices was causing them so much pain. They just didn't have the metrics. They just couldn't measure it. And then we took those devices, did a little bit more analysis, and saw that this Tecra, just a horrible device. 56% of the crashes were coming from 16% of the devices. Again, they were able to go up to upper management and say, these are problematic devices, we need new devices. And so they were able to budget that and get it in. Here's a few more problem devices that we saw. These didn't have as big a footprint in it, but still, whenever the orange line is a lot longer than the blue line, they gave us something to look at. And on the other hand, they had some very stable devices. The HP EliteBook 830, fantastic, great device, and the 820, great device. And that's what they were able to say to the manager, let's get some more of these in. They aren't problematic, they're good devices. Some other insights that we came up with. We came up with this synthetic score, metric score, that measure different network connectivity, things like that. And 1/3 of their devices kind of were lower than the metric that they wanted to meet. The bench score was 7 out of 10. 1/3 of their devices weren't there. They figured they needed at least 2 gig of free memory, and a lot of their devices didn't have that. We even went in saw things like low battery health. When the battery was going to die, the health indicator was only 50%. So we were able to present them with that, and they were able to go ahead and order those batteries before it failed on the people, because they knew they would have to be replaced sooner or later. Another interesting thing we were able to do is get the Wi-Fi signal strength, and 1,200 devices. People were too far away from their Wi-Fi router. So easy fix, right? Oh yeah, you're having problems with your Horizon desktop. Get closer to your router. And we can see that in real time. And they actually set up an alert that will pop up a little thing on the endpoint device to say, your Wi-Fi signal, because people just don't look at that little icon, right, on the taskbar. So we now have a pop-up that pops up and says, move closer to it. So recommendations. The first thing they needed to do is get some kind of an automated ticket system to track these devices. They didn't know they were having all these problems until we went in there and analyzed them and got them. They definitely needed to upgrade some old devices. Just this small block of devices was causing big headaches for them. They went in and they looked at those applications, those bad applications, those 3 that were causing all the problems. Took a look at them, they were able to fix them. Again, a lot of calls went away. The poor Wi-Fi signal, they developed a pop-up to show when that was happening. And the other thing that we noticed was their log-on times ranged from 71 seconds to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And when you're in healthcare, that just doesn't fly. So we made a list of those, we went through, one of my coworkers, Trenton Ty, who's Mr. Analyze Log-On Duration, I don't know if you've ever seen his script, works with Guy Leach on it. He was able to go in there and say, this is why your GPO your app volumes and go through and help them out with that. So they're working on bringing that down. They're not down to where they want to be, 30 seconds, but they kind of know that they have a problem now at least. So my big 5 takeaways was, hey, we have a problem with our Horizon desktops. No, you don't. It's your endpoints, it's your networking, it's your infrastructure. We looked at their desktops were running just fine. Then we needed to go through and kind of aggregate the data and get a high-level picture, see what's doing it. And don't be fooled by the average, because looking at the numbers, average things are horrible just because these, 9, 10 devices were given all sorts of balloon screens of death and application failures. And you need a tool to collect that information, aggregate it, and analyze it. And that's it, guys. Thank you for showing up. I hope you got something out of this, and be over there taking questions if you have any. Thank you.